Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Nonprofit Podcast, Donorbox's new weekly source of insight and support for your mission. I'm Jenna, a nonprofit advocate here at Donorbox. We are so excited to share the insightful, inspiring, and just plain interesting interviews we've been lucky enough to score with nonprofit thought leaders. And I have to admit, I've had a few real fangirl moments. We also get into the trenches with some of Donorbox's organizations, really digging into their challenges and interrogating their achievements. It has been eye-opening and awe-inspiring for sure. So get ready. We have a double-header kickoff starting with our new season with a new series, the Nonprofit Spotlight. And today we shine the light on Movember. I hand the interview lead over to nonprofit influencer and one of my personal superheroes, Heidi Bianco. And I was more than just a little jealous as she sat down with Rich Loesing, a Movember mover and shaker, to find out how facial hair and a dare literally changed the face of philanthropy in the area of men's health.
Welcome. I am Heidi Bianco, and this nonprofit spotlight moment is brought to you by Donorbox. I am tickled to introduce you to Rich Loesing. Rich, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Heidi. I'm excited to talk about men's health and mustaches today.
Well, first off, I have to thank you for taking my many emails, which there was a ton. As you know, that this is very personal to me, and I have a great love for the work that you do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're excited. It's been around for quite some time now and continue to change the face of men's health. So it's always great to talk to folks like you and spread the message even further.
Excellent. Now, Rich, could you give me a little bit of background about the inspiration of Movember and how you became involved?
Yeah, so the Movember story is quite an interesting one. It actually started back in 2003 in Australia. And a couple of buddies were just skateboarding around in Melbourne, and they sat down for some drinks and talked about fashion trends and how they're cyclical, and fashion trends go out of style and they come back. And they landed on the mustache and talked about how the mustache hadn't quite come back yet since the 70s. So they said, you know what, how about this November we grow mows or mustaches and turn it into Movember and then have a big party at the end of the month. And it was a huge success. 30 friends did it. They had a great time growing mustaches, and it really just became a fun thing to do. And then the next year they said, hey, we had such a good time with Movember last year. Let's do it again, but this time let's do it for a cause. Let's do it for something bigger than ourselves. And taking inspiration from the female health movements that they'd seen with breast cancer awareness, and then learning about prostate cancer, which was our first cause that we championed at the time, and how much of an issue that was for men, they decided to raise money for prostate cancer research and raised, I believe, about $40,000 that first year of fundraising back in Australia. And since then, Movember's just boomed all over the world. We've raised over $1 billion globally, funded over 1,250 projects in over 20 countries around the world. And we focus on the three key areas of prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health and suicide prevention. So that's a little bit of background about the organization. In terms of my involvement, I was approached my first year in law school. It was 2009, and a buddy of mine said, do you want to do Movember this year? And I said, I have no idea what that is. What's Movember? And he said, well, basically, we just grow mustaches, raise some money for men's health, and then have a big party at the end of the month. And I said, okay, that sounds like my type of charity. It didn't have to run a 5K or do anything like that. It got to grow a silly and frankly pretty crappy at the time mustache. And it was just great. And I had so much fun doing it. And it was for a good cause. It was for something bigger than myself. So for the last, 12 years, I've been participating pretty heavily in Movember. And then when I got the opportunity to work for the foundation 4 years ago, I couldn't turn it down because it's been such an important part of my life and something that I've really enjoyed. So now as the corporate development manager here, I've had a great time being on the other side of the discussions and really continuing to be an advocate for men's health and the Movember Foundation.
Oh, that's wonderful. And by the way, you've perfected your mustache.
Oh, well, thank you. It's again, I don't know what happened, but after a decade of just practicing, it's gotten less and less crappy over the years. So I still don't think it's the Burt Reynolds level of mustache yet. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but pretty good so far, I guess.
Now, Rich, Burt Reynolds, that's a high level to try to hit.
It is.
Burt Reynolds mustache.
Greatest of all time.
You mentioned this. A lot of people associate Movember with prostate and testicular cancer, but you also mentioned about the mental health. Could you please give us a little bit more information about that? Because that's so important, especially today.
Absolutely. So several years ago, we adopted our third of our three kind of flagship causes, and that's mental health and suicide prevention. And we get a question a lot like, well, I understand prostate cancer and testicular cancer because those are specifically, related to men, but why mental health and suicide prevention? Why is that a men's issue? And frankly, I would say, that's a really good question. And I didn't know too much about it too, because obviously depression, anxiety, suicide, those are things that impact all members of society, not just men. And well, when I found out the statistics, it made much more sense. So 3 out of 4 suicides roughly are men. Globally, a man takes his own life every single minute of the day. So it really is just an epidemic of an issue, and suicide particularly disproportionately affects men. So we know that generally speaking, men aren't as good as our female counterparts about opening up, about sharing their issues. And a lot of times when it gets to a point of crisis, men may feel like they don't have options and they end up taking their own lives. So we want to make sure that we're talking to men, we're encouraging men, we're getting men to open up, to become vulnerable, to seek help when they need it, to help other men flourish and open those lines of communication. So if we think if we can do that, if we can build that resiliency in those communities among men, that we can hopefully see this progress over time where it doesn't become as serious of an issue as it is today. And then particularly, with the pandemic over the last, year and a half now, it's getting worse, and alcohol and substance abuse is going up, and we're seeing suicide levels increase as well. So it's more relevant now than ever, but we want to make sure that we're providing that messaging, that information, and those communities for the men that really need help in these difficult times.
You really hit it hard when you mentioned communities. That is so vital. And I think you're very correct when you say women tend to verbalize it a little bit more with health and for mental. We let go. We sort of share with our girlfriends, but men usually do not have that open rapport. And your website and the knowledge base that you offer is just amazing. I highly recommend every male, female, mo, bro, mo, sis, mo, mama, get out there, check it out. I mean, it's so very important.
People are passionate about the causes they support. Now put that people power to work with Donorbox's peer-to-peer fundraising. With easily customized, shareable fundraising pages linked to your main campaign, each supporter becomes a campaign creator, reaching and inspiring a growing audience of new supporters, bringing your fundraising goal closer with every share. Donorbox peer-to-peer, the power of people, the power of connection, helping you help others.
Now, could you please share with us, Rich, a story of perhaps a person or group that your program has really helped?
Yeah. So since we've started the foundation, over 5 million Mo Bros and Mo Sisters have participated in Movember. And that doesn't even include the tens of millions of donations from their family, friends, coworkers, networks, and stuff. So we've had a lot of people have really powerful experiences with Movember. But one that comes to mind for me is, when it comes to our programmatic response and in the mental health space, we want to make sure we're speaking to everybody, but especially to high-risk communities. So men and boys of color, indigenous people, veterans, farmers, but veterans are a big community that we try to reach. And there's a Mobro that I've become very good friends with that has been very open about his struggle with his mental health. And, when you see his MoSpace page and the motivations, he talks about a lot. And he mentions that before kind of getting involved with Movember, he never felt comfortable. He knew there was something under the surface bubble and that it was having a difficult time with. And he just didn't know the outlet for that. And Movember's given him an outlet to at least annually in the month of November, but also through the community throughout the year, share that story and talk to other people and men about why building that resiliency, building that health, not just mentally, but physically as well, is so important for the health and well-being of men, and for his journey particularly. And he and I have become good friends over the years, and really just seeing his journey with his own mental health experience, but also through the Movember community and getting connected with other Mo Bros and Mo Sisters in his area, and just having those friendships, having those groups and those networks to reach out to and just be support systems for one another has been so powerful to see. But it's guys and gals like him all over the country and all over the world that are really giving in and leaning into this Movember community and using this as a springboard to spread the message about men's health and well-being to their communities, to their coworkers, friends, family members. And again, we hope to continue to grow and getting that word out to men all over the world.
It's amazing how when you are hurting and you reach out to help somebody else, you really end up healing yourself. And I think that is a testament to what Movember does and the people that contribute to it. It's absolutely fabulous. Is there anything that you really want our viewers to keep top of mind or walk away with today?
Yeah, I would say one statistic that always resonates with me is that on average, men die 6 years earlier than women, and there's no biological reason for that. So what that leads us to believe is that if men are changing their behaviors in a positive way, we can eliminate that gap and we can get men to live happier, healthier, and longer lives. But the only way to do that is for men to start taking action, right? So that's why, and we've chatted about this before, especially the women in our community are so important, because as those pillars of strength and great examples for how to take care of oneself, to encourage the men in your lives to just, seek help if they need it. Open those lines of communication, check in. We employ the ALEC model when it comes to talking to men, ALEC, ask, listen, encourage action, and check in. So, when you're just passing somebody, maybe check in with somebody you haven't seen in a while and say, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? And just listen. Give them that time to open up, perhaps share a little bit about what's going on in your own life to encourage that conversation and that open line of communication. And if something's going on or you think something might be not so right, encourage action. And that could be anything like, hey, let's talk more over lunch, or, maybe you should go see a doctor about that issue you've been having, or, I recommend talking with your sister, or your wife, or your friend. So encouraging action, but then checking in. And that's key too, because a lot of times, again, generally speaking, as men, we can set it and forget it. We can have a really deep, impactful conversation and not have the time to follow up and see what's going on. So checking in, but the short answer, again, I probably stretched that out longer than it needed to be, but the short answer is check in on the men in your lives and encourage positive, healthy behaviors and action. And then at maybe a more practical level, go to Movember.com, because we have so much great information, so many resources that can be found there. And you can create your own MoSpace page too. So if you want to get more involved with Movember and take our Move Challenge or do some fundraising for the great programs that we support all over the world, it's a great way to get into the community, to build that community, and make an everlasting impact on men's health.
Oh, that's absolutely fabulous. So the ALEC, ALEC, that's so easy to remember and so important. As a woman, I know that I go to the pages because I have questions, and I want to, since I am an influencer, I want to make sure that I influence the males in my life. And there's, a great love and a great respect, and we want to keep their health top of mind. From 2003, just growing a mustache, I think that's absolutely amazing. And look at all the people that you have influenced for so many years, and all the programs, the projects, the research. It's just tremendous. And I hope everybody listens and takes an active stance in their health. Rich, thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi. And it's always a pleasure to talk to great Mo sisters like yourself and to keep spreading the word about Movember and men's health.
Thank you. And a special thank you to Donorbox. Where helping you helps others.
Wow, what a world of change one chance joke has made to men's health and the way we approach taboo topics. If this is what a bro with a mo can do, what's stopping you? We'll be dropping new episodes every Thursday, so follow and download now so you don't miss a motivational moment. I guarantee we will have something to make your nonprofit fundraising mission just a little easier. Make sure to catch us next week when we'll hear how you can turn a trickle into a flow with the Trailblazer Foundation, discussing how their Cambodian community water projects have been changing lives for 17 years.
The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox, helping you help others.